In a quiet village nestled between green hills and winding rivers, there lived two brothers, Aaron and Leor. They had grown up side by side, sharing toys, laughter, and dreams. But as time passed, so did their bond. What once was a friendship stronger than steel slowly eroded under the weight of misunderstandings, pride, and harsh words. It began with something small, a piece of land their father left behind. Aaron wanted to farm it. Leor wanted to sell it. The argument grew. Words turned into anger, and anger turned into silence. Days became weeks. Weeks became years. Two brothers who once ate at the same table could no longer look each other in the eye. Aaron worked the fields alone, his back bent under the sun, bitterness in his heart. Leor built a shop in town, his hands busy, but his nights restless, haunted by memories of what was lost. Neither of them would admit it aloud, but both carried the same wound, the ache of a broken bond. One spring morning, an old traveler came through the village. His hair was white as snow, and his eyes carried the softness of one who had seen both suffering and peace. He sat near the well where villagers gathered and began to speak. "Do you know," he said, "what opens new paths? Forgiveness. For anger builds walls, but forgiveness builds bridges. Without it, we remain prisoners of yesterday." Aaron, passing by, heard the words but turned away. Leor, too, listened from the edge of the crowd but clenched his jaw. They both thought the same. Forgiveness is weakness. I cannot bow first. But that night, Aaron could not sleep. He remembered the days when he and his brother ran barefoot through the fields, chasing each other under the summer sky. He remembered how they once dreamed of building something together, not tearing it apart. His heart ached. The next morning, he went to the fields and began to plow. But his hands felt heavy. Every furrow in the soil seemed to ask him, "What is more important, your pride or your brother?" And in his heart, a quiet voice whispered, "Forgiveness does not make you smaller. It makes you free." Meanwhile, Leor sat in his shop counting coins, but none of the silver in his hand warmed his spirit. He too felt the weight of years lost, yet he could not imagine speaking first. And so the days went on, until one evening, a great storm broke over the village. Rain poured down in sheets, and the river swelled until its waters tore through the land. The fields of Aaron were at risk, and the bridge that connected the village to the town nearly collapsed. In the chaos, Leor rushed to help, his shop forgotten. Together, side by side once more, the brothers fought to save what they could, pulling ropes, lifting wood, guiding villagers to safety. For hours they worked in silence, until at last the storm began to pass. Exhausted, drenched, and breathless, the two men stood side by side, staring at what they had saved and what they had lost. Finally, Aaron spoke. His voice was quiet, broken by years of silence. "Brother, I am tired of this wall between us. Life is too short for anger." Leor's hands trembled. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, tears mixed with the rain on his face. "I too have carried this weight. Forgive me." And in that instant, something shifted. The wall that had stood between them for years crumbled. Not because the land was divided or the argument solved, but because their hearts finally let go of pride. They embraced, not as perfect men, but as brothers willing to begin again. The traveler who had spoken by the well returned a few days later. When he saw the brothers walking together, he smiled knowingly. "Forgiveness," he said softly, "does not change the past, but it opens a door to the future." From then on, Aaron and Leor worked not as enemies, but as partners. They built a mill by the river, combining their strength and skills. Their bond became the heart of the village, a reminder that even after storms, both of nature and of the heart, new paths can be found when forgiveness is chosen. Years passed, and the story of the brothers spread. Parents told their children, neighbors reminded each other, and travelers carried the tale far beyond the hills. The lesson was simple but powerful. Forgiveness does not erase the pain, but it transforms it into strength. It takes courage to forgive, but even greater courage to live without it. And so the village itself began to change. People who held grudges began to soften. Friends who had quarreled began to reconcile. Little by little, forgiveness became the seed of unity, and unity became the root of peace. As Aaron and Leor grew old, they often sat together by the river, watching the water flow. One evening, Aaron said, "Do you remember the storm?" Leor nodded, smiling. "It destroyed much, but it gave us back what mattered most." And they knew, deep within, that forgiveness had not only opened a new path for them, but had changed the path of everyone around them. Now I ask you, what storm are you carrying inside your heart? What wall of anger still stands between you and someone you once loved? Forgiveness may not erase the past, but it has the power to open new paths you cannot yet see. If this story touched your heart, share in the comments how forgiveness has changed your life, or how you hope to use it to heal. Subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories that remind us of the power of compassion. And don't forget to leave a like, so this message can reach others who need to discover that when forgiveness opens new paths, everything can change.